Hello, friend. How are you? Welcome back to Walking in Magic. It's an honor to have you here. Thanks for clicking and watching. I just came back from a walk around my neighborhood, and I want to thank my husband and my mother for reminding me, even though I can be very stubborn, that walks are very good for me. Movement and sunshine, and just general, like, it gets my energy going and flowing, and it's really good for my mental, emotional state for sure, but also for my imaginative state. Like, I come up with so many ideas while I'm walking immediately. It's like, so, and one of them was not so much an idea, although I did come up with some ideas that led to this moment in time. And I thought, wow, okay, this is a good one to capture because I want to share some of the personal ways that I can trick myself into not starting something. And the idea of creating and starting and going with your gut and your instinct and your intuition when it comes to creating something new in your life is something that I find more and more not only sacred, but vital for us to really sink our teeth into and understand the difference between when we take action from a place of inspiration and vision and when we hold ourselves back, and why we do that, and be very discerning about it, because more often than not, I think we're holding ourselves back way more than leaping forward. So if this resonates for you, keep listening and watching. As I was walking and feeling and vibing, I had the first sort of threads of a poem that's emerging, and the poem has to do with uncorking your soul. More to come on that because it's something I'm going to sit down and give some life to. Uncork your soul. And that paired with this idea of I'm starting to dabble in the craft of watercolor and illustration and combining those two together and seeing what comes up. It's something that's been calling me for a long time. And while I am not a trained artist, I am absolutely claiming this idea of being an artist, and it's taken me a while to get to that place of like, oh yes, that is part of my soul DNA, is like I am an artist. And how can I allow so if my soul wants to uncork itself right now via art as one of the streams of creating, then what does that look like? And what's the impulse there that I can follow? It's like this, ooh. So the impulse is, oh, I have an idea for something that I want to create. And then what are the things that tend to sort of circumvent that kind of like send me in a different energetic direction? I came up with about 3. One of them for sure, which was the one that was really getting in my head today as I was walking, is that I told myself, okay, well, go to the store, get a canvas, maybe get some new whatever, fill in the blank, paintbrush, some material. Let me know if you've been there. And then get back. And of course, I'm weaving this together in the scheme of, Jules and what he needs. And thankfully, I have some support there now, which, okay, that's great for a few hours in the day. Skylar getting picked up from school, doing my bits of work, taking care of the house, laundry. I have some Amazon returns that I need to take, that I need to drop off. Some, errand stuff here and there, to groceries, you know the drill. So I'm like, all right, in between all of those things. And then I'm thinking, well, what might happen is once I get the materials, I'll come home, I'll take them out of the bag, and then I won't do anything. And then I'll wait to get inspired again. And that kind of bums me out. I'm like, oh, because I felt so like, okay, this like joy of like the impulse, right? And this is where impulse has to meet the follow through and the idea of start now and not wait. Don't wait, create. Don't wait, create. Get that in your like beautiful headspace. So then I'm like, all right, Aleandra, my love, my dear, you have many materials. And while the original idea of how I wanted this new sort of painting to come to life required a different medium. Like I didn't want to use watercolor. I was thinking about dabbling in something else. There my mind goes again with starting things that I may not bring to completion. I was like, no, no, no. You have materials. You've been working on the watercolors. Focus on that. You have the watercolor paper. You have the watercolors. You have the brush. You have water. Perfect. Excellent. You have a pencil to do your illustration. Magnificent. You're good. That's it. Like start. Start now. Start now. Okay, great. Fill in the blank in your own life how this plays out for you, if it does. That like delay space in between where we kind of buffer it in with stuff. So that's about buying materials. The other thing that I tend to do that circumvents my creative like flow of my sort of a start now moment is, oh, okay, there's something else I need to do. Now, I'm always thinking about how do we align our humanity, like what's happening in life, with our divinity. And to me, divinity is your magic, your creativity, your, like I call it your light print. It's the thing that makes you completely unique. All the ways that we would want to, at least I would love to run away to like a beautiful cabin in the woods and paint and write poetry and do witchy things and spells and walk around barefoot tending to my garden while I drink tea and coffee and just like revel in the nature and life. And they said the nature. You get my drift. But life is happening and life is here. And I choose to love my life and I choose to embrace the road I'm on. I don't want to see it as apart from my magical inklings and magical growth. It's all combined. And again, this has taken work for me to get there, but it's all one thing. So I don't want to cast off one part of me for the other and vice versa. So we have to somehow combine them. So starting now in the realm of all the things I have to do might look like starting a quick sketch on a piece of paper or a notebook that at least gets the seed planted for what's to come. It might look like writing, which is often what happens when I write poetry, is the first few lines will just like bubble out. And then I tend to write my poems fairly quickly because they just like drop in, and then I'll go back to them and then I'll refine them and revise here and there. But the start now muscle has to get primed so that you're not causing yourself delays around, oh, I need to get these things before I start, or, oh, I need to do this other thing before I start, or why even start? Why even do it? Another thing that might be getting in our way, which certainly has gotten in my way, is because maybe we have not developed the muscle of starting now, like the ignition point, the activation, and then the follow through. Like you've got to leap and you've got to follow through with the project. How many of us have projects and other projects that are maybe a craft in a bag somewhere, or a journal that we started, or we have some half began like thing and we were so excited when we acquired that thing because we were working off of that creative impulse. How do we keep tending to that is the start now. So if you're going to take anything away from this video, is maybe right after this, identify one thing that you've been putting a pin on and just start it, get it going. Open the journal, write something in it, draw something, make a dent in your watercolor pan, like get something kind of messy or dirty to mark the beginning of a symbolic. I'm all about symbols, and that's a lot of what working in magic is using symbols to shift the energy and shift the frequency around something symbolic. Like, oh, I've been meaning to crack this paint watercolor pan open, but I'm not because it looks so beautiful there. And I have this new watercolor paper and oh my God, if I begin, then what if I mess it up? All these things. Crack it open, spray some water on it, grab a paintbrush and have at it. You know what else? Swirl a few of the colors together for good measure, just to show your brain that you're not afraid to create, that you're not afraid to get messy, that you're not afraid to actually dive into it. And I promise you that enough of those times that we do that lessens the perfectionism, which is the other big thing that holds us back from starting now. So what are you thinking about starting now? I have this illustration that I have in mind where I started before I went on the walk. I sat down for a moment with some tea, just 5 minutes. And was like, oh, I want to draw this. It's like a sparrow in flight. And then as I was walking, I got this like line from the first poem to open it up, like uncork your soul. And the first lines that I have, I'll just share with you here. It's literally 2 lines, but it's something like, it's called Uncork Your Soul. It says, uncork your soul, let it radiate out in wild beams across the sky. Uncork your soul, let it stumble all out without asking yourself the reason why. So on and so forth. And so I thought, because poetry keeps coming up for me and this idea of watercolor and illustration comes up for me, and I have a long way to go because I'm a beginner, marrying those two together really like sparks something new. It creates a new world. And then I choose to then walk that path and walk on that, like follow that thread. So hope that was inspiring for you. Start now. If not now, when? And another thing I'll tell you from a very personal perspective is that our time on this earth is limited and it is precious. And my reality of understanding at such a visceral way how time is limited has been amplified since my husband's diagnosis. My husband was diagnosed with a terminal illness 3.5 years ago. And I've seen his body wither in front of my eyes. And it is the most, I am in a constant state of sadness, and I'm in a constant state of gratitude, and in a constant state of opening my eyes to what's here right now. And so I have a constant reminder. And even with that very like intensity going on in my life, I often give myself, it's like the little back door that you kind of like sneak back, like, well, maybe not now, someday, the someday syndrome. Let's make a dent in that someday syndrome, because our lives, our expression are worthy of being uncorked and streaming out and radiating out in like wild bursts of light in the sky, in your world. May it be so. May it be so. And now I'm going to go get groceries. All my love and stardust always. Thank you for subscribing and commenting and following. If you would like to work with me, become a part of my beautiful Patreon community, or join in my next incredible program called the Creatrix Laboratory, you will find the links below. I wish you well, my friend, and don't be a stranger. See you soon. See you soon. Adios.